Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Antares Move. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And we're going to talk about what the fuck is regret. Because we all feel it. And we all go to that place sometimes. You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm not going to say we all, because there may be spirits and bodies that I haven't even met yet that haven't experienced that. So they're like super master incarnators and things of that nature. But for the most part, we all get lost in light. And these lights can play out as different forms of gas, bacteria, people, places, and things. You know what I'm saying? Shapes and forms. And they can play out as an illusion that may not even look the same as that illusion may have appeared in a previous life. But it is carrying the same energy signature. So a lot of times, it may look a little juicier in this lifetime. It may look a little fatter in this lifetime. It may look a little more fruitier in this lifetime. A little bit more fruitful. A little bit more successful in this lifetime. But little do you know, you might be putting yourself into a trap that you are those terms, that you are reoccurring for yourself over and over again. AKA, you're swimming in the same water, in that same current flow. So, when we talk about regret in the third dimension, this is nothing more, nothing less but a form of regress from a fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional aspect. You see what I'm saying? So, when you experience a form of regret in the third dimension, that is a representation and an example of something that you have repeated. I repeat, keyword, RE again. You see what I'm saying? When you experience a form of regret, it is because you are repeating something you have already experienced, and that experience was either catastrophic, turmoil, or something that you do not want to experience again because you already experienced it, and whatever that experience consists of didn't accumulate with your elements in the way that you would like it to. So for the most part, this is where we get the forms of regret coming into an existence. So, like I said, going back to the beginning, like how I was saying you could get lost in light. Okay, you have a life now. So, AKA you have a light now. AKA you have a body now. You know what I'm saying? Christ now, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is just different names for the motherfucking body. You see what I'm saying? Demon, whatever. Dimension, definition, you know what I'm saying? Density, DNA. These are just other words for the fucking body. Or a body, or a spaceship, so the spirit could go into to experience itself. So that body can be a chakra, will, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Now, for the most part, the reason why I'm saying this is because of this, right? You're in a realm of reality right now where we're all going through experiences. Now, you may manifest something that you thought was a new experience, but this experience made you jump into the state of being that you feel like you regret going through that experience. So you start to calculate in your mind what to do and what not to do so you don't have to experience that next time. Now, what you need to understand though, the root cause of regret, keyword, RE, is something you have already previously experienced. Now, reason why I keep bringing light into this, because the light, the illusion, the constellation is going to look differently. Since you're in a body now, you're in a light body now. So everything is taking different shapes and forms differently here, because the frequency vibration that we're all dancing in is accumulating different energy forces, creating different energy forces. So the way we're going in this spiral, we're all accumulating as these kind of snowflakes. We're crystallizing in these kind of ways. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, the shapes and forms that you see in your life, whether it's people, places, and things, circumstances, or situations, if any one of those things play out as a regret energy signature for you, you need to know that you have repeated something that you have did in a previous life. And that was just to remind you that that experience is not what you have liked it, and it don't mix well with your energy. And for the most part, here's a little deeper into that, right? The harsher the regret, because it's a scale to everything, right? So the harsher, the more worrisome the regret is, means you just repeated something that you've been repeatedly repeating over and over again. So it hits you that much more heavy. It's that much more weight. That current event was that much more effective. That influence was that much more immensive. You see what I'm saying? So that means if you go through an experience based upon a person, place, or thing, or a situation in your life, and that regret was a super catastrophic one, it was one way worse than your best friend or your family member that you be talking to, and this regret almost came to the point that you might not even wanted to express that to anybody, that's let you know that that has been something you have been repeatedly doing over and over and over again. And if the regret is like minor, kind of light, little stepping stool, minor obstacle, but it was a slight regret, then it is something that you have been learning from. You see what I'm saying? So it's still something that you have repeated, but it's something that you have repeated, but you have took a little information from the last time you repeated it and added it to this time. So therefore, the experience wasn't so catastrophic. You actually had a spaceship. You had an intellect. You had a feeling and emotion or a concept to sustain yourself through that astral travel this time. Because everything is a transition. Nothing is overnight. Nothing is just snappy like that. So for the most part, you need to understand this. Everything is in the present. So the past and the future truly don't exist. So when we talk about the present, that is the here and now. This is why your hair, no, you're here. You see what I'm saying? This is why your ears, no, you're here. So your ear drums actually manifest or bring things here to you. You see what I'm saying? That's what you need to understand. So you need to understand the art of, overstand the art of listening. Because the better you know how to listen, the better you know how to bring things to you. This is why a person who talk too much, they don't listen, right? But this is a person who don't know nothing. And 9 times out of 10, these are fools. A person who can talk but can't listen. That's why so when you're talking to somebody and they're not giving you a breath of time that they can listen to understand what you're actually processing, to process what you're actually saying, then you need to know you're talking to a fool. Okay, now the reason I have brought that up is because of this, right? Now, the reason that you're in a circumstance, in a situation where you're regretting, everything is a transition. So when we talk about the present, right, everything is in the present. So when we talk about the future and the past is going into your waters. So it's going down or it's going back. You see what I'm saying? And the future is going into your fire. So it's going forward or it's going up. You see what I'm saying? And the present is you in the middle. You anchoring it. You experiencing both of those realms of realities that doesn't actually exist. Now, you're always experiencing the present. So the present becomes the past. And the present becomes the future. That's what you need to understand. So you always experiencing the present. So once the present becomes the past, you can utilize the water as a tool. But if you get too lost and become an extremist into utilizing that past as a tool, then you can get lost into your the water and actually burn out your actual steam out your future. You know what I'm saying? Like burn out your future. You see what I'm saying? Or steam it out, wash it out. You know what I'm saying? Put the fire out. So therefore, you so lost in the past, you can't even see where you're going now because you end up being too attached to things that's not actually in your present. And you bring a lot of those things to your present. Now, when we talk about the future, this is why it's not even too good to be too lost into the future, because these two things don't actually exist. These are things that you have to will into your existence, your present. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, the future is the fire. So when a person is too lost into what they want to do, their imagination and things of that nature, they can evaporate their past, aka forget or just detach from everybody that they was bringing along with them, aka or memories, or aka a person who's too lost into the future or too lost into their imagination, they may become forgetful and things of that nature, or they wash out their past to the point that no one can even relate to them anymore. You see what I'm saying? So they have nothing to fall back on. You know what I'm saying? They end up being on their own, to themselves, shining in their own darkness and things of that nature, to the point that they evaporate all their water, so they have nothing to go back to. So it's almost like a off a cliff type of energy. You know what I'm saying? Extreme type of energy. It's like a we're here now, and there's no going back type of shit. So you don't ever want to put yourself in neither one of those states. You always want to put yourself in the present. Utilize the past to correlate the present, and so you can correlate a better future. Therefore, when you're in the present, you always have a sustainable present. You always have a sustainable spaceship. Now, for the most part, reason why everything is a transition, right, is not happening overnight. This is how you can calculate the calculate it, and this is how you measure it from a 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional realm. Because people be like, oh, you can't measure this, you can't measure that. You just need a 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional scale. Now, for the most part, when we talk about scaling, this is you have to understand it by the more of an experience or the less of an experience. So when you're dealing with regrets, right? If you're dealing with a heavy regret, something that make you feel heavily regret, then that's something you've been repeatedly repeating. Now, if it's a light regret or something that's just slightly that you can get over, this is something that you've been learning from the time, but you've been getting over it each lifetime. You see what I'm saying? But it's not like no overnight over thing. If you got a regret, it's something that you have repeated, period. That's what you need to understand. So you need to think back and look at all the motherfucking regrets that you got in your life. And now is the time, because the present is always the time that you need to be working on. Now is the time to actually be motherfucking putting that shit into work. Let me cut this motherfucking shit off because I don't need it right now. Now is the motherfucking time to correlate your life. So when you're in your next presence, in that present time, experiencing that current event, it will be how you see fit, and you will be bringing that water and fire together. You see what I'm saying? Into your present state, because the present represents the earth, future represents the fire, past represents the water, and air represents all in between. So it's the spaceship that you have to utilize to travel through all of them. So you have to have a strong mentality in order to understand your present, past, and your future. So your mentality will help you construct your past in order to construct your present, so you can see a better future. And then therefore that air quality that you're using can be like a passageway for you to understand your position in the present. Therefore, you will know not to let no past regret or experiences pop up in your present, and not to let no motherfucking future or some imagination of fire, future references, keyword, that may not even exist or may not even be willed into existence yet, blind you from the circumstance that you are presently in. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we always create different shapes and forms, aka create a different circumstance, situation, or manifest different people, places, or things in our present state. The power of the P, the pussy, the parameter, however you want to call it, the power source. You know what I'm saying? The powder. But for the most part, and when you look at a P, it's the circle with the line coming out of it. So that's, you seeing that Elohim trying to box itself out, that motherfucker. But for the most part, you need to understand that we're all in a circumstance, in a situation where we're trying to take ourselves out of circumstances and situations, and then for the most part, we're reshaping it and transforming it. Now we need something to be fluid to reshape and transform the present, which is the earth. You know what I'm saying? Present represents the earth. So we utilize our air, right, our spaceship, to travel through the past and the future, which really don't exist, but is our belief, is our creativity, because we are creators, so we create dreams, which is our water and fire. So for the most part, we jump into these with our spaceship. Our spaceship is able for to be like a light body or a chakra that our spirit could go into, and then, you know what I'm saying, experience these two things to construct our present. So it's really like a little, why you ever hit those bell things, like, and it keep doing that all the way until it become condensed. So this is what you're kind of like, your spirit like doing in shapes and forms. You see what I'm saying? Shapes and forms ain't nothing but energy forces. You know what I'm saying? You got the frequency, vibration, and then you got energy. And all things that fall under energy is like physical, non-physical, light, gas, solid. You know what I'm saying? The yang. You see what I'm saying? But when we talk about frequency, vibration, you talking about spirit, soul. You see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? When you talk about the soul, that ain't nothing but an individual spirit. So when you go into the overall spirit, aka the overall space, You can understand your space, understand your spirit, your individual spirit, your soul. Therefore, you have fluid, you have movement through this overall space. You see what I'm saying? That's how you have a soul. So you have a vibration, right? But this vibration create energy forces. So your vibration is you. You is the soul. You is the spirit, which is no thing, no shape and form. But what you do is create a force. You create chakras. You create lights. You create beliefs. You create imaginations. You create dreams. You create energy. And the more you keep adding on to that creation, it can appear to be solid. That's that thing I'm talking about right there. You see what I'm saying? Now, when you're in the present state, it just appear to be like in a solid body, and we didn't got so low into the ocean. We in this kind of one right now. In this kind of one. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, you in this earth. You in this daughters of men. You see what I'm saying? Now what you need to do is create your air to get it so your spirit can get out of this and go into that mentality, not this reality, that go into that mentality, then jump into your future and past, which is your water and fire, and be able to take that information, which is water and fire, and then take that back to your present, which is the earth, and reshape that vase, which will make the vase fluid. So this will create the earth expiration date, but also makes it fluid enough so it can be transformed. So the present and earth-like qualities will play out in the third dimension as your circumstances, situations, relationships, materials, and all things that you're manifesting in your circumstance, and you're trying to reshape it, right, like a vase, right? So you're utilizing your air, your mentality, so your spirit could go into, right, and then you're utilizing your tools, your future and your past, your water and your fire, to utilize those elements, to utilize your earth so that earth could melt a little bit so it could be fluid enough to move through this astral travel, so it don't be too stubborn or too stuck or too fixated or rooted into one circumstance or situation, to the point that if too much shit get added and built on top of that, you won't be able to move. Then your life will be super frustrated. Then your spirit won't even be able to escape. So it'll create all kind of catastrophic moments in order to escape that shape and form. Rather, it either has to put you through a situation where you get killed in some way, shape, or form due to an accident or murder, or due to a separation of groupings of people, places, and things that you are around within that body or house or mansion that you have built around yourself, due to the fact that you didn't know how to move out of that current of regret. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, things go a little deep. So you have to learn that when you're experiencing regret, you're experiencing a repeating of something that you have been previously already repeating, even if wasn't even just in this body. You know what I'm saying? You may have repeated it on, or even if you are in this body, you may have repeated it on a small scale. You may have repeated that energy signature in a situation that has nothing to do with the way the situation is playing out now, but you're participating in the same energy signature. For an example, like, remember the metaphor I brought up in my last video, y'all? Like, sometimes you manifest reckless people if you are a person who keep your room reckless. So a lot of times you might got a natal alignment where you're real stable in your life, but when it comes to your room or your dresser and shit like that, your drawer, you might be messy as fuck. So then you might be manifesting that same energy signature in your life. So you may manifest people who are reckless in other areas in their life where you ain't. So you experiencing them like, God damn, why the fuck did I manifest this person? This person is nothing like me. Let alone, yes, they are. You manifested that person because they are a representation of an energy signature that you partake in, that you participate in. And little do you know, if you're not spiritually inclined, you might not know what area of life you're participating in that energy signature in. You see what I'm saying? And you just may manifest a person that's showing you that energy signature from another perspective, based upon their space, their location in this astral realm, their spirit. You see what I'm saying? So how they're seeing the circumstance and situation is in a different space than yours. But y'all got connected in some way, shape, or form. So motherfucker, you need to get spiritually inclined and get down to the diggity to know what fucking rituals you're doing every day, because this the way you live, period. I don't give a fuck how much you think you want to live, whether it's motherfucker off the grid or in the motherfucking grid, or whatever the fuck whatever the fuck you think grid is. Motherfucker, everything is a goddamn ritual, to the point that motherfucker, the ability to wake up was a fucking ritual as spirits that we done motherfucking created. That's what you need to understand. We didn't always wake up. Waking up wasn't always the goddamn thing to do. What you think dreaming is was motherfucking what we always goddamn did, period. and been shapeless and formless and created shapes and forms to go into, but realized we wasn't that shit, so we ain't attach ourselves to being that shit. The ability to wake up in our motherfucking sleep, aka this chakra, this light body, this getting lost in the light, motherfucker, this was a ritual that we done motherfucking came down on Mount fucking Herman and fucking created the fucking geometric hermetics and motherfucking for us to pertain a position in this motherfucking dream ritual that we done fucking created. So motherfucker, that's a fucking ritual. So everything is a goddamn ritual. So just goddamn know what ritual you wrapped up in, and know what one is catering to you, and know which one is not catering to you, before you get spooked out by the word ritual itself. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying, I don't like to join into a lot of energies, signatures that's being thrown amongst, but we getting ready to get into motherfucking 2019. You know what I'm saying? In 2019, that's the motherfucking 3 energy, and that's the motherfucker coming to a full circle. So you need to know, motherfucker, a lot of this motherfucker weak ass consciousness that's going on in the world right now, it's time to get shut down on some real shit, period, too. Because I'm tired of hearing about shit like Babylon and shit too. I'm tired of hearing that motherfucking word, Babylon. So I that's letting y'all know I probably need to cool the fuck off on the internet right now. Because if I hear Babylon one more fucking time, as if Babylon is a goddamn entity in a goddamn self. Last time I checked, it took a group of motherfuckers to make one thing. You see what I'm saying? Last time I checked, one thing wasn't one thing. So when I see the fucking sun, I see a bunch of archives and parasites that make one motherfucking sun. When I see a country, I see a group of motherfuckers that make one motherfucking country. When I see a motherfucking constellation, I see a group of motherfucking stars that make a constellation. So motherfucker, we dealing with a group of motherfucking individuals. So each individual could be motherfucking changed based upon an influence. So motherfucker, we need to be active influences that's not going against a motherfucking wave, and we could all create a collective wave. Otherwise, when we want to motherfucker talk about Babylon as if Babylon is a motherfucking entity in its goddamn self, motherfucker, we getting lost. Motherfucker, we getting lost. Because once we start giving a group of motherfuckers that came together and make them one motherfucker, goddamn it, we in motherfucker, we got problems, we got issues. Because now we can have one motherfucker using the energy of a group of motherfuckers to do what the fuck they want to do with that shit in their one specific mind. And a person who's riding that energy signature is probably doing that anyway. It doesn't matter how it looks in the 3rd dimension, in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. They all the same motherfuckers. Doesn't matter if you're on a lower scale of that, or a higher scale of that. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air. Me in this motherfucker.